Okay, friend. So when we talk about force, the simple definition which comes in our mind is, either you push an object or you pull an object so that the object moves. So a simple definition for force can always be considered as a push or a pull. So let's get into greater details of what force is then. Hopefully you have noted it down. So see to it that you get into habit of noting it down quickly, because these slides are, self-explanatory, and we would push across the slides quickly as compared to the other sessions you can see. So let's move ahead. Let's discuss force in greater details, friend. Okay. So again, if I want to say what is force, so in greater details I can say it's an interaction that, if unopposed, so if you don't oppose it, will change the motion of an object. So this is another way of explaining force. What does that mean? Say for example, I am pushing this object and there is no opposition over here. I'm pushing the object and there is no opposition, friends. So if I'm pushing the object and there is no opposition, then what will happen to this trolley? It will start moving. So that's how you place it. Okay, force can also be considered as any interaction that, if unopposed, will change the motion of an object. Please make a note of it before we move ahead. So slowly we are getting into the greater details of this word force. Okay, hopefully you have noted it down. Let's move ahead then. Try and understand this slide. Okay, very interesting. Forces acting on an object does not imply that the object is in motion. Say for example, if I'm talking about a football which is at rest on the ground, the forces do act. The weight will act vertically downward, that's gravitational force, you can see in the diagram, and there will be a normal reaction offered by the surface, that's upward. So both are equal and opposite, and therefore the net force is zero. So we call such kind of forces as balanced forces. So here you can see the normal force is being nullified by the weight, and therefore the net force is zero. I'm not saying the force is zero. I'm saying the net force is zero. These are two different statements, friend. The forces are acting. Gravitational force is acting. You can see in the diagram itself. The normal force is also acting. But together they are nullifying each other, and therefore I am saying the net force is zero. But under the given circumstances, you can see if the net force is zero, what happens? The object is not moving. Okay, so it does not move. But if the net force was not equal to zero, say for example the normal force would have been greater, then you would have observed the football bouncing upwards. So it means if the net force is not equal to zero, it will result in the motion of the object. So the net force has to be equal to zero for the object not to be in motion. Other way around, if the net force is not zero, then the object will move. Please make a note of this. Very important slide, friends. Time and again you will have to work out forces in this fashion while solving problems. Okay, hopefully you have noted this down. Let's move ahead then. Yeah, just a minute. Yeah, okay, done, they say. Good. So let's move ahead then. Okay. Yeah, here you can check out, if a football has to move on a ground, let's talk about how the forces would be acting. Say for example, you can see initially we have discussed two forces. If the football is on the ground, the weight which will be acting vertically downwards, that's represented as gravitational force over here. The normal reaction offered by the ground, so normal force I call it. And if I'm trying to push the football in this direction, so this push, and it will be opposed by a force of friction, you can see, between the ball and the ground. So this type of diagram, we also call this diagram as free body diagram, friends. So free body diagram is an isolated view of an object showing all the forces acting on the object with their directions. Because force being a vector quantity, direction needs to be specified. So such kind of diagrams are necessary for solving problems in the later stages, friends. So get habituated to drawing diagrams, such diagrams. Call them as free body diagrams, or the abbreviation is FBD. Okay, FBD stands for free body diagram. And how do you define free body diagram? It's a diagram of an object where all the forces acting on the objects are shown along with their directions in an isolated view. So hopefully I've noted this down before we move ahead. Okay, things are pretty clear till here, I believe. Yeah, okay, Maitri, I got it. Okay, let's move ahead then. Let's try to analyze this type of motion now. Here the same thing is being said, but in a very precise way. You can see here in this case, if net force is 0, the object is stationary. Net force is 0, here also the net force is 0, but then you apply some force here in the horizontal direction, it will continue to remain at uniform velocity, friends. So note it down. I mean the same thing being represented more precisely over here. Okay, hopefully noted it down. Let's move ahead then. Yeah, so let me share a different screen with you people where we will actually define force. Now we will define force in a technical pattern basically, or a technical term. So let's try defining force and let's understand the genesis of this term force, from where it comes basically. So let's see. Okay, so we are talking about force, friends. So here you can see for this person, to climb. Oh, just give me a moment. Okay. The person has to reach this particular point, he has to exert force on the board. Okay, so how do we define force? So force is defined as the physical quantity. Obviously, you can measure force, therefore you will call it as physical quantity, which changes, or tends to change the state of rest or of uniform motion of a body. So you can see the wording itself tells you, it changes or actually tends to change the state of rest or of uniform motion of a body. This is how we define force, friend. So please see to it that you make a note of it. So this is the definition for force. So in examination here onwards, we'll be defining force in this manner. So hopefully done. So let's move ahead then. Yeah. Great. Now this word force, it comes from Newton's first law. Okay, so let's understand what Newton said in the first law. So according to the first law of motion, which most of you might be knowing, we are just trying to recall it. Okay, so every body continues to be in a state of rest or of uniform motion along a straight line unless it is acted upon by an external unbalanced force. So this is what Newton's first law says, that a body on its own is not going to change its state, whether of rest or of uniform motion. That's what Newton is trying to say in his first law. So here is a law which tells you about two things. The first thing which it informs you about is, unbalanced force. So the first time force comes into picture in Newton's first law. Therefore, Newton's first law is very important. Second important thing which arises from Newton's first law is the concept called as inertia. Now, what is inertia? tendency of a body not to change its state, whether of rest or of uniform motion, is inertia. Therefore, Newton's first law is also called as law of inertia. So here you can see this means that the body on its own cannot change the state of rest or the state of motion. It needs some unbalanced force. I am saying unbalanced force. Why? Because if the force is balanced, then the net force will be zero and the object will not move. Then it would be stationary, you can see. Yeah, so it gives rise to one more concept, as I have said earlier. This inability of a body to change by itself is called as inertia. And therefore, this law, Newton's first law, is also called as law of inertia, friends. So inertia, when we talk about it, is measured with the help of mass. Heavier the body, greater is the inertia. So greater the mass, greater is the inertia. That's what it says. Okay, so the significance of Newton's first law, friends, it gives qualitative definition of force, which we have seen. And in a general, we say force is a push or pull exerted on a body which produces or tends to produce the change in its velocity. Okay, so very important slide, uh, informative slide, you can say. Make a note of this before we move ahead towards the other laws also. Okay. Yeah, hopefully everybody says done. So we will move ahead then. Right. Let's move ahead, friends. Let's talk about the second law now. Second law is again interesting. It talks about momentum. Okay, and we all know momentum is the product of mass and velocity of a body. We can see this diagram explains the marble speeds up rolling down on the ramp, you can see. Other way around, if the marble is moving up the ramp, then it will slow down. Or if it is in the third diagram, you can see, it's moving on a plane surface, so it will neither slow down or nor speed up if it is moving on horizontal surface. What does that mean? There will be always change in momentum. It can be on the greater side or it can be on the lesser side, but there will be change in momentum, and this change in momentum will be dependent on the force which is being implied. It depends upon how the force is implied and what force is implied. That will decide what the change in momentum is. And Newton's second law exactly says the same thing. So before I show you what Newton's second law says, you can take a note of this quickly before we move ahead. Okay, great. So let's move ahead then. Let's talk about Newton's second law in greater details. So it says the rate of change of linear momentum of a body is directly proportional to the external unbalanced force applied on the body and takes place in the direction of the force. So you can see in the previous slide also, whatever the change in momentum is there, it is dependent on this force given by the finger, and it's taking in the direction of the force, you can see. It's taking in the direction of the force. That's what Newton's second law says. So you can see here also the change in momentum takes place. The body was at rest, collides, so it exerts unbalanced force. So initially you can see in the animation, this tempo is colliding with the car was at rest, initial momentum was zero, but the moment this tempo exerts force on the car, the momentum of the car changes. And why it changes? Because of this force exerted by the tempo. So Newton's second law says that whatever is the change in the momentum of the car will depend upon the force exerted by the tempo over here. Okay, so this is what it says. Make a note of it so that the animation goes, and then we can put some equations for Newton's second law. Okay, hopefully done. Yeah, you can have a look at it. Okay, so let's talk about Newton's second law in terms of equation then. Yeah, we all know the linear momentum of the body is the product of mass and its velocity. So let's talk about initial linear momentum. If u is initial velocity, so u bar, because it's being a vector, it's represented as a vector. So mu bar is the initial linear momentum represented by p1 bar, and mv, here it should be v, it should not be u. Okay, so make that correction. Here it should be v, because v is the final velocity. So we will call it as final linear momentum. All right. So in time t, so Newton's second law, according to Newton's second law, you can see, f bar in this case would be given as, yeah, please see to it that hopefully the things are not disturbing in this case. Okay. So f bar in this case would be given as proportional to change in momentum per unit time. Now, when I say change in momentum per unit time, friends, so can I say F is proportional to final momentum minus initial momentum divided by time? So that is P2 minus P1 by T. We know what P2 is. We know what P1 is. Here the correction has to be made. Okay, it's V over here. Yeah. So let's move ahead. When I remove the proportionality sign, before I remove it, I will put the values. I have to introduce a constant, okay, when I remove the proportionality sign. So when I put the equality sign, the constant is k. So it is k p2 minus p1 by t. You can see over here. Okay, before I move ahead towards the next slide, please make a note of this so that we carry on this derivation of this equation further. Okay, hopefully you have noted it down. Yeah. Okay, fine. Let's move ahead then. Okay, here you can see this constant of proportionality k is 1. Okay, it comes from experimentation. Right, but then the equation will become, so proportional to p2 minus p1 by t. So f equal to, because k is 1, I will put p2 as m into v. V stands for final velocity. P1 as m into u, where u stands for initial velocity. So take m common in the numerator. So what you get is f equal to m v bar minus u bar by t. Now from equation of motion, you all know rate of change of velocity is nothing but acceleration, and therefore from Newton's second law you get the equation force is equal to mass into acceleration, friends. So very important equation. You can see you are going to solve problems on this equation, and it comes from Newton's second law. So please make a note of this before we move ahead towards the next part, that is Newton's third law. So hopefully you have noted it down. Let's move ahead then. Okay. So everybody knows what Newton's third law says. Okay, Newton's third law. Interesting thing. I mean, everybody might be knowing what Newton's third law says. So every action, there is equal and opposite reaction, isn't it? This is what Newton's third law says. So let's see. So to every action which is a force, in bracket you can see, there is always an equal and opposite reaction. Let's push. So this best explains the situation. Now the balloon, air oozing out of the balloon, rushes down. That's action. And the reaction is the balloon goes up. That's how Newton's third law can be explained. So make a note of this before I show you other slides as well. Hopefully you have noted it down, friends. Yeah. So we will try to discuss this in greater details and see. Understand this law very well. It's very simple to define. To every action there is equal and opposite reaction. Very simple to define. but you need to understand this in greater details. You can see, if a body A exerts force on body B, then body B also exerts equal and opposite force on body A simultaneously. This is what it says. So always you can see action and reaction will occur in pair. Only action cannot happen individually, and only reaction cannot be taken for granted individually. That's what it says. So important statement. Always it will occur in pair. So a single isolated force is not possible. So action and reaction forces always act on different bodies, you can see. Hence they never cancel each other. So action and reaction will never cancel each other. Remember that. Each force produces its own effect. This is something which you need to remember, understand, friends. So please make a note of this. Very interesting and important slide, basically. Uh, Hopefully you have noted it down so that you know move ahead. Yeah, most of you say yes. Okay, good. Let's move ahead. So let me share another screen with you people. Just give me a moment. Yeah. So just to have a quick recall, like what all things we have covered till now. Just give me a moment. Now, quick recall of all the laws. You can see. So what Newton's first law says: an object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion with the same speed and the same direction unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. Okay, this is another type of wording explaining you the same thing. Please make a note of this before we move ahead for a quick revision of other things as well. So you can see there are n number of ways where you can explain Newton's law, in different statements, which means one and the same. Hopefully done. Let's see. Let's move ahead. Okay, so let's say, in this case, give me a moment. This is something which we have seen earlier also. Yeah, here also you can see objects continue to do what they are doing unless some external unbalanced force acts on them. Okay, Newton's. This is a slide which is explaining you what Newton wants to say in his first law. Uh, Please note it down. You can note it down and then let me know so that we move ahead. We are just having a quick revision of what we have studied till now. Then we will solve some problems on the basis of what we have studied. Okay, great. So let's move ahead. Interesting slide, people. You need to understand Newton's first law in greater details. Here also you can see forces are balanced. What will happen? So if the forces are balanced, the object at rest will remain at rest. And if the object is in motion, it will remain in motion if the forces are balanced. If the forces are unbalanced, the other way of saying it is, if the forces are unbalanced, then the object which was at rest starts getting in motion, and the object which was in motion, you can stop it just by applying brakes to the vehicle. That can be the example for the second part which I have said. Again, make a note of this interesting and important slide. These slides are self-explanatory, friends. Things will become really very easy for you to analyze. So let me know if you're done with it so we move ahead then. Okay, fine, great, no problem. Yeah, let's have a quick look at what Newton's second law of motion is. So rate of change of momentum proportional to unbalanced force. That's what Newton's second law says, isn't it? So Newton's second law says this thing. This is something which we have studied right now. All right. Yeah, I mean, yes, Anushka, whichever is easy, You can adopt that, no problem. Therefore, I am giving you different options, how to define certain things. So whatever is easy, you can always adopt that in your answers. All right, so you can see this is about Newton's second law of motion, which we have discussed earlier. So take a note of this before we move ahead towards the next slide, now where we talk about Newton's third law.
Sir, I can't see the half slide.
Yeah, here, I mean, there is a problem over here, but then I can spell it out for you. Rate of change of momentum is proportional to the unbalanced force and takes place in the direction of the force applied on the body. Okay, so this is how you are supposed to make it. Unfortunately, it's not being shown clearly on the slide. Yeah, I got it. But then you can always add it to it. Okay. So hopefully done. So we move ahead towards the next. Yeah. This is about Newton's second law, how we derived it just now. It's a small derivation. Okay, force proportional to change in momentum per unit time, where V is final velocity, U is initial velocity. MV stands for final momentum, MU stands for initial momentum, and the difference between the two is equal to change in momentum. Make a note of this slide. This will help you for recalling this derivation, small derivation, based on Newton's second law. Yeah, hopefully done. Okay, now let's put it in forms an equation. When you put it in form of equation, what do you get? You can take m common. This is what you have seen. V minus u by t is a. So F is equal to mass into acceleration. So these are the steps giving us the equation force is equal to mass into acceleration. Okay, so let's point out summary over here. So what it says is rate of change of momentum is proportional to force. So force is mv minus mu, which is change in momentum, divided by time, which represents time, say t is time over here. Momentum is mass into velocity, and the unit for momentum is kg meter per second. So while deriving this derivation, these points are to be remembered and time and again applied when needed. Okay, so smartly you apply these points and you get the derivation force is equal to mass into acceleration. Please note it down, friends, and let me know so that we move ahead forward. Yeah, hopefully done. Okay, most of you say done. Good. Okay, great. So let's move ahead then. The third law we were talking about. So every action there is equal and opposite reaction. So let's see. These are some examples where you place action, you get reaction. All right, you can start noting it down because these are self-explanatory slides. You can see. Yeah. So action and reaction, a ball bouncing on the floor. So this is how you can show how action and reaction is represented, equal and opposite. So hopefully you have noted it down. Let's move ahead then. Yeah, while riding a bicycle, you can plot action and reaction in this manner. With the help of feet, he's applying force. So the action is moving this side. The reaction is the cycle moves forward. So here also he's applying Newton's third law, you can see. Yeah. So let's hopefully have noted this down so that we move ahead. Okay, I assume you have noted this down. Yeah, let's move ahead then. Yeah, so here are some points, okay, what Newton's first law gives us, what Newton's second law gives us, and what Newton's third law says, okay. So first law, it says that an object will preserve its state of motion unless acted upon by some net force. That means net force should not be zero. Okay. Second law gives us the equation force is equal to mass into acceleration. This is what we have seen. And third law tells us about action and reaction in pair. So very important slide so far as summarizing what we have studied today is concerned. So make a note of this interesting and important slide for you people to have a glimpse of what we have studied today. Yeah, so most of you say done. Okay, let's move ahead then. Yeah, so this is something which we want to discuss. We will solve some problems on what we have studied today. So give me a moment before I share screen with you people. Just a minute. So here comes a problem where you have they have given you force in vector notations, 3 dimensions you can see. So it is given as I said, physical quantities are 3 dimensional. So you have to work out the problem in 3 dimensions like this. So what they say, a force F bar equal to 9 I cap plus 36 J cap plus 27 K cap Newton. You all know what I, J and K cap are. They are the unit vectors along X, Y and Z axis. That's what we have studied. And it acts on a body of mass 45 gram, and they expect to calculate first the acceleration with which the body moves. Second, the change in the velocity in 0.1 second. Third, the change in momentum of the body in 0.1 second. So these 3 things are to be estimated. So let's see how we work it out. So let's put the force first of all. Force is 9 I cap plus 36 J cap plus 27 K cap. And mass, they say 45 grams, which can be converted into kg as 45 into 10 raised to minus 3 kg, friends. See, second law, Newton's second law says force is equal to mass into acceleration. So from this we can get acceleration as, why the arrows are only on force and acceleration? Because they are the vector quantities. Mass is not a vector quantity, so no need to put an arrow over it, okay? It's a scalar quantity. So this is how you put representation during solving problems, okay? So mass is known to you. So acceleration will be given by force divided by mass. So force in 3 dimensions is given as 9I plus 36 J cap plus 27 K cap. You divide each term by 45 into 10 raised to minus 3, and then you get an equation somewhat like this when you solve it. So that equation will be 200 I cap plus 800 J cap plus 600 K cap. So you get acceleration also in 3 dimensional case, vector notations basically. If the force is in vector notation, you get the acceleration also in vector notation, 3 dimensions, where I, J, and K cap are unit vectors along X, Y, and Z axis. So this is the equation for acceleration. Please make a note of it before we move ahead towards the next part of the solution. And let me know if you are done with it so that we move ahead. Yeah. So most of you say yes. We move ahead then. Let's try working out the other things. The second thing they want the velocity, change in velocity in 0.1 second. Okay. Let's see. So now acceleration is v minus u by t. Everybody agrees with that. So v minus u is change in velocity. Will be given by acceleration into time. So v minus u is something which we need to find out. But we have found out acceleration as 200 I cap plus 800 J cap plus 600 K cap. Just multiply this by 0.1 because 0.1 is time. This will give you the change in velocity in this time interval. Okay. So just multiply it. So every term has to be multiplied by 0.1 now. So when you do that, the change in velocity again in 3 dimensions will come out to be, it will come out to be 20 I cap plus 80 J cap plus 60 K cap meter per second. So this is how you are supposed to solve it in form of vectors. Okay. So you got change in velocity. The next thing they wanted, change in momentum. So whatever is the mass multiplied by change in momentum, change in velocity, you can see mass multiplied by change in velocity. It's like v minus u, not a. Here it should be v, okay? So mass multiplied by this will give you change in momentum. V minus u, you have found out, okay? How much is that? 20 I cap plus 80 j cap plus 60 k cap. So put the values over here. Here correct it, okay? It's v bar minus u bar. So just put the values and you get, you can see, multiply by 45. So, change in momentum will be equal to, you do that, every term is multiplied by 45 into 10 raised to minus 3. You get the answer for change in momentum as 0.9 I cap plus 3.6 J cap plus 2.7 K cap. So you got the change in momentum, the third part in 3 dimensions. Are you getting my point? Hopefully you have understood this. Please give me the feedback and then we can move ahead towards the next question. So last question for the day, you can say. Okay, let me. So most of you say you are okay with whatever is being taught today. Fine, no problem. So let's move ahead and let's try to solve one more question on the concept of force. Okay, because today's target was understanding force. So here comes one more problem which will be solved with the help of equations of motion and force, both. And the question says, a body of mass 5 kg is acted upon by a constant force. It starts from rest and covers a distance of 100 meter in 10 seconds. Calculate the force acting on the body. So we are supposed to find out force. So let's put it in form of steps. Given thing, okay. So u is given to you. Initially it is starting from rest. That means initial velocity is 0. It covers a displacement of 100 meter. So s is 100 meter. In time 10 seconds. So put t as 10 seconds. Mass of the object is 5 kg. And you are supposed to find the force. We know force is mass into acceleration. But based on whatever the values of u, s and t are, first we'll need to find out acceleration, friends. So let's find out acceleration with the help of second equation of motion. Second equation of motion is s is equal to ut plus half at square. So you know all the values except a. Put the values and get the value of a. So s is 100. So 0 into 10 plus half a into 10 square. So this will give you the value of a as 2 meter per second square. The first step is finding out acceleration with the help of with the help of second equation of motion. Sorry, and then once this is found out, then the force can be worked out as by Newton's second law is mass into acceleration. You know mass is 5 kg and acceleration is 2. So 5 into 2, that is 10 Newton. So you can see the force acting on the body for the given condition is 10 Newton, friends. So please make a note of this.